LinkedIn, we are going to fire up your Monday.
With Steve Spiro, the Master Connector.
I am Steve Spiro, the Master Connector.
Over the next hour of this Master Connection series, we will take a deep dive into the different ways to connect and network effectively.
See us and hear us right now. So LinkedIn, we are on here. We're getting ready.
Hear from experts along with Steve Spiro, who went from being shy and introverted to the Master Connector.
All right. This is Ignite Your Passion. We're going to talk about following it today. Make sure you're letting us know where you're viewing from. We've had a few changes to the show this morning. It's been a wild and furious morning with changes to the lineup of the show. We've had illness. We've had folks with internet problems. It has been fun and lovely. Steve, I'll let you talk to the folks a little bit more about it.
It's the beauty of live broadcast. Hey, welcome to live broadcast. So not what I'm used to, but it's great. I love it, but it's been fun. Yeah. So Brandy, keep her in your thoughts. Brandy has some sicknesses, and Ryan and Danielle are having some major internet challenges. So you're stuck with us, but we're pumped and excited. We're gonna have an amazing show. So make sure now, because it's just Cameron and I. So you are the show. So whoever you're I'm seeing a bunch of people. Corey Foster, my amazing nephew's on here. We want your comments. We want your questions. We want whatever fires you up, whatever ignites you, whatever ignites your passion. We want to hear it, and we want to definitely include you in the show and make sure you're participating. So please start out by shouting out who and where you're from, what town, what city, what state. And who you are, and obviously if you have any questions for us, and we'll start kicking things off obviously with things. But Cameron, you want to do a quick intro for those of the folks that don't know each other?
Absolutely. So I just want to say this. Thank you so much for being here. We got people checking in. Timothy Colson from Newburgh. Corey Foster, like you said, is in the house. Mama Spiro checking in. We have Nabidi. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Nabidi Chiadi Kobe checking in from Nigeria. Hey, if you want to jump on the program, we would love to have you, since we are guestless for internet reasons and illness. Again, thoughts and shout outs to Brandy, and hopefully Mr. Ryan and Danielle, they can get their internet service back. They've apparently been down all morning. They thought it would come back, and it didn't. But like Steve said, this is the power or the fun of doing a live show. So, hey, we're going to get right into it. I'm going to introduce our Master Connector, Mr. Steve Spiro. Steve Spiro is a martial arts black belt and a master networker. He's moved from being a shy, introverted kid to the master connector he is today. Steve Spiro began his business career starting his first company was an advertising company in NYC. He had an incredibly fulfilling career in advertising and marketing, but eventually pivoted to the technology industry. Today, he's a certified customer communications consultant with Quadient, where he consults and mentors companies to help them find more effective ways to connect with their customers. Steve Spiro believes in the power of mentorship, growing oneself through self-development, and continuing to create meaningful connections through building a large network. Welcome to the stage, the Master Connector himself, Steve Spiro.
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Mr. Cameron Toth, the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain there. Appreciate all the magic you do. Absolutely incredibly excited and pumped and passionate and fired up to be here with you guys this Monday. It's not fired up Monday, fired up Friday anymore. It's the Mastermind Master Connections Monday. So it's pretty exciting here. So, but hey, so Steve Spiro, the Master Connector. Cameron and I really appreciate you tuning in. We're here now every Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We come at you with engaging content on how you too can be a Master Connector. During this Master Connection series, each week our goal is to gather subject matter experts when they're not sick and they're not dealing with internet issues. But hey, so welcome to the show. It's going to be incredible. I'm very blessed to have my co-host Cameron Toth here. Cameron is the host and founder of Biz Dev Live. Cameron founded Toth Event Staffing in 2011. Toth Event Staffing is a hospitality company providing staff to caterers, cafeterias, and catering departments in Westchester, New York, and New York City. BizDev Live was founded in 2020. With interviews starting back up in mid-September, BizDev Live takes Cameron's entrepreneurship experience and combines it with his passion. We'll hear more about that later, for helping young people and business-minded professionals. Cameron Toth's mission in life is increasing access to education and an opportunity for all people. So please bring back to the stage my man, the magic man, Mr. Cameron Toth.
Thank you, Steve. Pleasure. And we're going to get to talk a little bit about that passion today for education that I have. We're going to go deep into it because that is our topic of discussion for the day. I want to continue shouting out our folks in the comment section. Audrey, thanks for checking in. Glenn Frisbee coming in from White Plains, New York in the neighborhood. Mr. Brent Salmons from San Diego, thank you so much for checking in. We appreciate you being here. So, Steve, get us started here. And again, I'll put it in the chat. Guys, if you'd like to pop in live to the show, send us a message. I'll send you an invite in a private message. We'd love to have you pop in the show and be with us here in the virtual studio. So please send us a message. And we want to know where your inspiration, where your passion comes from, what your questions are. The more specific you get, more we can help, and the folks that are watching can help as we're going along here. So, Steve, can you share with us what your passion is and why it's important to you?
Sure. So for those folks who know me and those who don't, you guys know that I was shy, introverted, picked on, bullied, learning disabled, dyslexic, and very, very low self-esteem for many, many years. And so it was a struggle. It was really a struggle to just, I was driven. I was always driven. I knew I didn't want to have to kind of be in survival mode. My family was, probably on the low end side, lower, low, I wouldn't say low class, but, on the poverty side of things. My parents got divorced when I was, fairly young, and we struggled to household. It was tough. But I was always driven as far as, wanting to succeed, but I always struggled. And I struggled with, okay, what's really going to keep me fired up? What's going to keep me sustainable? And so one of the things that happened for me, and I wish to some degree it happened earlier, kind of early on in my life, but it happened. Hey, listen, and not to get spiritual on anyone, God's time is perfect time, right? And whenever it's supposed to happen, it happens, right? And so it happened. And I was introduced to a very successful entrepreneur who took me under his wing, took on a mentoring role. And that has really been transformative and got me on this sort of path of self-development and self-growth and learning to be the best version of me I could be. And wound up introducing me to some incredible people and I got put into an amazing incubator, success incubator, if you will. And it's been tremendous. And the growth has been both personally, professionally, spiritually. It's been amazing. And so my passion, just all that's to say, my passion is really to help other people find their path, find that passion, find that direction, get into a place where they could be uplifted and supported and really grow personally, professionally, spiritually. And I think it's tough. I mean, I was, from the inner city earlier on in my life, the Bronx, and it's not, when you come from that place, it's not that supportive, right? I mean, it's almost like if you hear the story of the crabs in the bucket, right? You put one crab in a bucket and it gets out, obviously. If you put 2 or 3 crabs in a bucket, they're all clawing each other, holding each other down. And it wasn't this sort of, incubator for success. It was literally a, kind of a, who could you get over on somebody else kind of environment. So I didn't have it growing up. And, I love my parents. They're incredible. My mom is great. And she had her own challenges being a kind of a single mom trying to raise us. And I know she's on the show. But, I didn't have that incubator from the family side of things. So having a passion to really grow and help people has become this huge thing for me. And seeing people in my life, the power of mentorship and what mentorship has done for me, I really want to pay it forward. And so I've been blessed to be able to see other people grow and progress. And I could talk more about that. I don't want to, capitalize too much on this, but I want to hear what you have to say, Cameron. But, there's so much growth that I've seen from other people. It is exciting when you see people grow and become, and I know you have a passion for the youth. You've probably seen it in your way, but it's incredible. So that is super passionate. It's my passion, and certainly want to hear what you have to say as well, Cameron. And certainly the folks that are viewing, we want to hear what you have to say also. So please make sure you're participating with us as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna highlight Mama Spiro here. As a therapist that chose a career that filled me with passion, purpose, and mission for 50 plus years. Mona from Mumbai, India, teacher turned marketing manager, interested in enabling kids imbibe values and scientific attitude. Thank you so much for commenting, Mona. I think this is the first time I'm seeing you on the show. Thank you so much for commenting. We got Debbie Payne checking in from Ontario. Debbie, what's your passion? Why? What is your passion? Why? We got Jennifer Henderson, who's a frequent part of our community. Thank you for being here, Jennifer. Gregory Austin checking in. Mr. LinkedIn over there, Gregory Austin. Audrey, we want to hear from you. What are your passions? Why are you passionate? Because we want to fire you up, and we definitely want to build out that path. Whether Steve or I can do it, or somebody in the audience here. The whole point of this show is to connect and build and grow and build on. And for me, for my part, it's really interesting listening to Steve, and how his past sort of has pushed that passion to the forefront, because that's my story. Going through high school and being a little bit lost, and that sort of created some dominoes that led to where I am now. And creating difficulty and challenges in my road has led me to a place where I'm like, you know what? I want to put myself in a place where I am helping people eliminate challenges and roadblocks and all of the different things that, especially young people who don't understand how to connect what they're doing right now to 20 years from now. And anybody that's watched Biz Dev Live, even watched this show, has heard me say that whole thing of how to connect right now to 20 years from now. But that's my passion, because I see how much. And I know that, this, because I think we have some overlap on this, Steve. When you see people really develop and grow and understand that their actions, whether it's saving money or making a sales call or networking in a more empowered and influential way. I look at you on LinkedIn, and I think that's a great example of somebody that's applied themselves in a given area. Because I've been on LinkedIn for a long time, but I didn't apply myself. I didn't connect the first time I was on LinkedIn. I didn't connect what I was doing then to 20 years from now. If I had, I'd be pushing forward like I did over the last few months. We started doing this show in November of last year, and I was talking to you about, I want to grow. I want to push this forward on LinkedIn. I have these goals. I have this mission, this purpose, and I want to push forward on LinkedIn. And through this program, the tutelage here, all that, I've grown from 2,500 to over 4,000 connections on LinkedIn. I'm not bragging. Mr. Steve Spiro, the Master Connector. What are you up? 12,000,
13 plus.
Yeah. It's not right. It's just like I'm making progress, and that's the big deal, right? And so that's really what I'm excited about helping other people do. I want to highlight some other folks jumping into the comments here. Audrey says, building a legacy business that is based upon giving back and passing it on to my boys. Some familiar territory there. Very cool. I got a few children, as people often joke about. Demi Grace says, hi, Steve Spiro and Cameron Toth. Great to see you. Demi, talk to us about your passion, because I know you're an avid networker. I'd love to hear a little bit more about your passion. Sriparna, my passion is to impact people's lives in any way that I can, impacting their lives personally. I love it. We want to keep hearing more about your passions. I'd love to know if there's any places where you're struggling to sort of, hey, maybe if you're anything like me, you probably have a few things that you're interested in, and I'm sitting there trying to figure out how I can piece them all together, because I have a passion for helping small businesses now, because I've been running a small business for the last 10 years, and I I'm not a great master of financial wizardry, but I want to become one, because very much like my story of like helping young people get through like the educational and career barriers, I want to help small businesses get through those financial hurdles so they can do the things that they love and make money and be successful.
I was going to ask you, Cameron, and obviously, I've seen, you and I have known each other now. It's probably about two years roughly, so right in that realm. And I've certainly seen you grow, in what you're doing. And I saw you do a shift to, more of an E version of your business, doing, the Biz Love Live and obviously doing the broadcast together like this. But I'm curious and I know there's a question that we have number 2, but did you always have that passion in your life? And if not, what ignited that passion for you? What was was there something, there's some spark? Did it sort of just come slowly? What was it for you?
So the big thing that really pushed forward for me, because when I was young, I have the story of my dad. We're in the bar and he's asking me, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And I said, "Rich." That was it, right? and then I'm going forward in school, and I'm like, oh, I want to be a creative writer. And that was a big deal. My dad was big into books. We had books on the wall, literary, all that kind of stuff, right? And then, this whole educational thing, I go through high school all through 4 years, but I don't finish some projects that I need to actually graduate and get my high school diploma. A year after that, I'm now a father, because I've, young, dumb, and full of, and so I have a child with this woman that I'm not intending to spend the rest of my life with. Didn't know that at the time, of course, in la la land, less land, whatever you want to call it, that a young person gets into. So it was a gradual thing that, pushed my passion from being kind of, because some of those, I'd still like to be wealthy and successful. That definition has definitely changed in terms of what I thought that was to what I think it is now. And I like the creative thing, writing, but I've not been writing books or anything like that. So it's just sort of switched from this sort of creative passion, childhood, like, oh, just have, I like books. I'd love to do this creative thing, to, man, I see there's a need. And so I saw the need in my own life, as I became a young father, got my GED, ended up, following the girl around the red leather pants, instead of looking at the educational things that I needed in my life and the financial things I needed in my life to get through school. I was following the lovely young lady around the red leather pants, and that's how I chose my college. And then, of course, 2 years later, I'm dropping out. All of the kind of errors that you can make. So I just sort of, as I'm going along, man, one thing after another, life experience is telling me, man, there's a need. I really want to help people get this. Obviously, being a young father, I had a young man that I was raising. And so that was there. And I got involved with a nonprofit that does college and career preparatory work. And I really found my love and inspiration. I loved doing that work. And I think that's something for folks that, haven't found that thing that they enjoy doing. They haven't maybe experimented enough. And so after high school, because I had a lot of time, I was in one internship, but I was intern at Roadrunner Records. I was doing something with a publishing firm. I was like all over the place in New York City. I grew up in New York City, so just anything, the whole world was my oyster, and the crossroads of the world. So I was sampling. I got involved with this nonprofit, luckily senior year of high school, and that was the thing that stuck. I started kind of with DJing and calling record labels, and it turned into, wow, I like doing this work with students and young folks.
That's great. I mean, yeah, absolutely. That's amazing to hear that. So for you, it was just sort of it happened progressively. It kind of progressed, and it kind of, and I would probably, as far as my direction and how it all came about for me, I think it's similar. I think initially, when you grow up with a lot of want, and you don't have a lot. I think initially what drove me was the idea of being more comfortable, not worrying about money. And then when I got to start to travel with my wife, and we traveled outside of the United States, and I was like, this is really cool. And so initially, the passion, if you will, the excitement, the draw for success was to have more time and money to be able to travel. But, and we still enjoy that. Don't get me wrong. But when I look back at it, what I think the coolest part about traveling was meeting people when you're traveling, whether people from the land you were visiting, right? I mean, I remember we, and hopefully no one gets offended by this, but we went to Jamaica. It was a great trip. And honestly, being from the Bronx originally, there's this, my guard is up. I'm in the islands, and everyone's trying to sell me, ganja and all sorts of stuff. And they want to sell this. And I'm like, my guard is up. Like, I'm all right, man, I'm here on vacation, but I'm like, and so 3 or 4 days into the trip, it was like, my guard was up. And it wasn't until we took this really cool horse ride on the beach at sunset kind of trip, and we wound up stopping at this little shanty shack halfway through this trip, and the people, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, we're being set up here. Okay, what are they going to do to us? But no, and we got to sit and we got to break some bread and have some food with them. And the people were amazing. It wasn't that they were just hungry for opportunity. They had great hearts. They were great people. And at that point, we fell in love with the island. We fell in love with the people, and we had a great time the rest of the trip. And we just understood the context of and so learning about people, we had, the best parts. And of course, I love eating. I put on some weight. I don't know about the COVID-19, the 19 pounds, but I definitely put on a few pounds during COVID. I love eating. And when you go to travel, you get to, you have these really cool exotic dishes. And I never like to, when we travel, never like to go to the resort stuff, because, you just get the Americanized version of whatever the foods are there sometimes, and a lot of times it's just burgers and fries and, hot dogs. So yes, trying the food, but really it was about the people. And but all those things, and the nicer car and the bigger place and the travel, those are all great things, but that still didn't seem to motivate me. It motivated me to a level, to a degree, but it wasn't getting to my soul. It wasn't getting to my core being. And but listen, so obviously, as I mentioned, kind of growing personally and professionally and all that. And it wasn't until I was challenged. And, when you get around great people, you hear me say this a lot on a lot of the shows. If you're in the room and you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. So I try to get myself around some amazing people. And I heard a message at one of the different conferences I had been at. And the message was about creating a life purpose and life mission. And that's when it really clicked for me, because it was a lady that said, she said, your dreams and goals, if there's something specific, you're going to hit that dream and goal. And now what, right? You hear stories about people that, like actors or actresses, they hit the pinnacle of their career. Their goal was to be in Hollywood and to have a movie, or their dream is to be, whatever, gold record, whatever they call that in the music industry. You probably know better than I do, Cameron, on that. But they hit it big in music or in sports, and then they just literally, their whole life gets like it just whatever, whether they kill themselves or a drug addict, whatever, all crazy stuff, because that dream
it goes back to like your goal has to be a little bit more complicated than I just want to make money, because all right, here's $10. You made money. Now what? Right. So it's got to be. There's got to be.
The way she put it is
purpose-driven life, right?
Right. The way she put it is, it's got to be something that no matter what you accomplish on the way, you still have something you're striving for, and whether you accomplish things along the way or not. And so that's when I put together this life's mission, I was like, wow, this is great. And now I can really be passionate. And so again, I know that there's this conflict for a lot of people, a lot of young I know you like working the young folks, and I do as well. Maybe your age group is a little younger than I like that 20, 21, 22 to like 32 range, because I think they're wide open. You know, as we get a little older, we get a little set in our ways. But there's this pressure in that generation coming out of college, or even not even college, even when you're 18 or 19, because they want to know, what do you want to do? What do you want to do with your life? And yeah, like my mom said, she found something in social work and in therapy and being a therapist where she could use her passion. That's great. But not everybody could find something they're going to be passionate about for 45 years, right? So what if you could understand what your passion is, and then what you're doing during the day or whatever time your day job or profession, why not allow that profession to fuel the money you're making in that to be able to fuel a passion versus trying to make what you do the passion, right? Because a lot of times that's what people want to do. You know, they want to find something and then they get disappointed because they're finding something in their life. You know, maybe it's being a teacher, and I'm very respectful of teachers. I admire what they do. I think they should get paid 3 times what they get paid because of the influence they have on young people. But yeah, it's things like that. But then you want to do it, and you may be passionate about teaching the kids, but find out that 40% of your job is administrative. It's dealing with the politics at the schools, and having to teach curriculum based upon testing versus what really motivates and engages kids, and all these things. And you lose it a little bit because you're trying to make the passion in your career. And so if you could find something that really drives you and really ignites your soul, that's when you're on fire for life. And that's what happened for me about literally right around the beginning of 2020. It wasn't that COVID was the influence, but it just so happened, by the grace of God, I don't know what it was, but somehow in 2020, beginning of 2020, I had that revelation, and life hasn't been the same. And I've been blessed to be able to grow the network, be able to do some cool videos on LinkedIn. I enjoy that a lot because you touch people that way, and then also being able to do the show like this with you, Cameron, which has been tremendous, and get to really bless people and hopefully ignite their light and their passion as well.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that it's these skills that allow, because what you're talking about is something that, and I want to get to folks' comments, or I'm going to jump into folks' comments, but just to say, that's why LinkedIn, what we're doing right here is so important. If you're not applying yourself through the networking, through using tools like LinkedIn, because whatever career track, you want to be a doctor, but maybe you're buried in insurance paperwork, and you have the ability to change that if you have power, if you have influence, if you have the ability to build teams and work with people. But if you're in this silo of, I've only been trained how to do this, I don't want to talk to anybody, I don't want to learn new things, I don't want to experiment over there, it can be tough. And so your passion can quickly become your burden, right? And I think that's really important. Part of what we're talking about today is, if you want to reignite that passion, if you had a passion and it's sort of getting burnt out, that's the way to do it. If you haven't found your passion, a lot of what I'm talking about to the younger folks, when that could be somebody that's, as early as primary education, going into junior high school, all along that way, I'm saying, start sampling, start building. I want that, I want that high school to have the entrepreneurs club. I want you to start sampling early, because the earlier you start doing this, the more experiences, the surer you are, and the more experience you're going to know what you enjoy doing, what you don't like doing, all that good stuff, right? Debbie Payne says, I've been a Remax realtor for over 30 years and I've loved helping people. This past year, going through unexpected spinal surgery, and while recovering, I've discovered other passions that I now wish to explore. Just in the progress of getting my first book published. Congratulations, Debbie, which is a memoir about breaking through generational dysfunction and how it helped me become who I am today. Congratulations, Debbie. That is amazing. We love hearing about stuff like that.
Yep.
Gregory says, my passion is to help people become self-aware, improve their mindsets, and improve the world. Mama Spiro, early on in social work school, they reinforced being an exchange agent. Talk to us about that, Steve. You probably know a little bit about what she's talking about there.
I don't, but maybe she meant to say change agent. Maybe she meant to say change agent because I know what that means.
Yeah.
Exchange agent. I've never heard that phrase before. Yeah.
So, yeah, I would definitely, because I would say for me, because I'm excited about, and me and Mama Spiro have to work, talk together about being in schools, because that's something I'm excited about doing a little bit more work, hands on, being in the school. But for a young person, getting in there and changing the way they're thinking, because it's tough. Parents only have so much time. Kids may have a strong set of parents. They may have parents that are strongly working to pay the bills and maybe don't have time. Maybe there's other stuff going on. But getting a young person that only knows what they know to think a little bit differently, that is definitely, you're in that position to change. And, talk about, branching off, the timeline, the future of a young person can be incredibly different if you open them up to opportunity and possibility. Jennifer Henderson says, as an accounting professional for over 20 years, I am passionate to help entrepreneurs understand their business finances and be confident about their numbers. I love to help them succeed in their financial and business journey. Jennifer, we're gonna have to talk too, because you heard me before, that whole idea of providing kind of like the CPA services, that kind of thing for small businesses. It's such a passion of mine because it's been so difficult for me. I'm excited to help other people with that. Demi says, impacting others is super important. The key to tapping into 20 years from now is tapping into the Zennials and millennials. I think
I think she might be talking about YZ ennials. I guess like the generation Y and Z ennials. I guess maybe that's what she means. That's interesting. I haven't heard it said that like the Yzennials. I like that.
Yzennials. All right, got it. Yzennials and Generation Z, lots to learn from. All right, I got it. Yeah, it's a big deal, right? Connecting now. I mean, I think I was having the conversation with my wife today about, immigration stuff and folks that are here and like not making decisions because it's going to take 10 years, but where are they going, right? You're not making a decision because it's a long process, but if you don't start now, it's just going to feel longer later, right? You might as well get started. I think so many people, whether it's starting a business, jumping into a new opportunity, people are waiting for the wrong reasons. And that's, if you read that book, Dr. Seuss, where all the places you'll go, and there's like the waiting place, people are waiting for this, people are waiting for that. It's such a true thing. There's so many people waiting. Stop waiting. Waiting is not the answer. You can sleep on a decision, but you need to make that decision and move on. Corey from West Palm Beach, Florida. I work in cybersecurity. My passion is to make the internet a better and safer place for everyone who uses it. My passion for this came with my discovery of the field. I've always loved helping people, but struggle with the best way to do it. Passing knowledge and information to others is something I enjoy a lot. I think that's wouldn't you say that's true for so many people, that passing information, people don't always know the best way to do it, but I think generally people enjoy spreading the information, teaching others. It can be very threatening if you're in a management position and you're teaching somebody how to do what you do, but if you're able to let go of that and give, it'll come back to you.
The best joy I've ever found is when you give, and give and impact others. That's the best way. There's nothing better. I mean, think about it, right? I mean, I'm not singling out any religions, but with the Christmas, the beauty of Christmas, and there's obviously, it's not about gift giving, but the joy in when you give somebody something, and that there's the real pleasure in that and joy, and when you hand somebody that gift or watch them open that gift, right? It's the joy. There's almost more joy for the giver than there is the receiver, right? Because especially if it's kids, right? They're excited about it for like a minute, right? And then they want to open the next one, right? So you probably know that better with your 17 kids.
Kevin says, hey, Steve, enjoy hearing your story. Keep inspiring others. We appreciate you, Kevin. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin.
Deming says, that's right, Stephen Spiro. Evolving goals that impact others and serves a greater purpose that evokes fulfillment, which should align with your talents. I love that. I love that. And Demi, talk to us a little bit more about aligning with your talents, because I think that's something that if you talk about that in the chat here, I think people will really benefit from that, because that whole thing is, I think there's folks that are confused about, doing good. I think it's really good on the networking thing when you get into conversations with somebody about, maybe they're pitching their job, but when you start talking to them about the nonprofit work they do and you see how they use their talents in other places, that's something to me as a sign that somebody's truly good and passionate and somebody that I want to work with, because they're not only using their talent in their day job, which they may be selling to you at the moment, but they're passionate about it outside of work. And I think that makes a huge difference. Tim Colson, who's in the comments today, has a great story that speaks exactly to that, right? He is not afraid of using his talents outside of his job because he's so passionate about helping people. And I think that helps the sales story as well.
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely.
Chris says, if you surround yourself with passionate people, you yourself will become a passionate person. I love that.
Yeah.
Audrey says, surrounding yourself with positive people is a very important, but even more crucial is steering clear of negative people. Try to help them, but what is that expression about a closed mind? It's like cement. Yeah, I'll let you riff on this because I know you're probably chomping at the bit too, Steve. But the idea that you are who you surround yourself people. So if you choose to be around a negative person, you are making a choice, and it is a negative choice. You're not. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly can rip on this one for sure. I mean, it's you are who you hang with, right? I mean, we heard it as kids, right? If you hang out with drug addicts, you're going to become one. You hang out with super successful people, you'll become that, right? I mean, I've also heard this, and you probably have heard it as well, where if you look at the net worth of the people, the 5 closest people to you, and you average it out, that's probably what you're worth, right? So there's a lot of validity in who you're hanging with. But yeah, I mean, not only are they positive, not only are they uplifting, but also do they have the fruit on the tree? Are they living the kind of life that you really, really want to live, right? I try to be very conscious of that. For many years, I might have looked for people that were successful, but maybe successful monetarily, and that's great. But what about in their marriage? What about in their spiritual walk? What about in just how they live their life? I mean, are they truly grateful? Are they truly, do they live with joy, right? Those kinds of things are just as important. Are they healthy, right? Do they live a healthy life, healthy physically, emotionally, spiritually, right? All those things are super important. We are programmed, right? I mean, this brain, this computer of ours it's amazing. It's more complex than the most complicated, most sophisticated computer on the planet, right? But we program it, and how we program it, we're not going to talk a lot about this because it's a whole nother conversation, a whole nother topic, but the power of words, right? And what we speak, but also what others speak and what we see and what we read and what we listen to, right? All those things program this amazing brain. So who you surround yourself with is super, super important. So I can't emphasize that enough. And be purposeful about it, right? Do you have a community? I mean, that was one thing that was missing in my life for many, many years, is the right kind of community that people that really would uplift me. I was at a conference this weekend, and I heard something that was super important to me. And if this resonates with you, I want you to direct message me, and we'll talk. But it was 3 things that really have impacted me, and that that I think for me, I know I was looking for, and I found it. And I have a feeling most people are looking for this in no particular order. Number 1 is community, right? Who you're surrounding yourself with, kind of what we're talking about. Number 2 is mentorship, right? And having somebody to kind of help guide you. And then the third one is purpose. And we're talking a little bit about that today, right? Maybe you have a purpose, but maybe you need help in, fulfilling and, working on that purpose, right? Or maybe you don't have a purpose, but you're hungry for a purpose. You really know you need a purpose on this planet, but you're just struggling for that. If those 3 things resonate with you, you need to reach out to me. I may be able to help you. So that's something that came to me. And by the way, on another note, I'm in the middle of reading. I know, Cameron, you like my book recommendations. I think you're going to love this book one. and you'll appreciate it because you were doing something with Lynn Rowe, but it's actually, the book is called The 5 a.m. Club. Great book. Have you heard it? Heard of the book?
No.
Unbelievable. Now I'm only about probably a quarter of the way through the book, and it's on Audible. So the narrator does an amazing job with the character development and how he changes his voice. Really, really, really good book. And it's funny. And I had never heard of the book until like about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. And I was on a networking call earlier today with a guy named Mark. And guess what book he brings up to me out of the blue? Like nobody has mentioned the book at all. And I'm in the middle of reading the book, and all of a sudden he brings up the book. So it's a tremendous book. I guarantee, Cameron, you're going to love it. Any of the listeners are going to love it. And, we're talking about igniting your passion. I believe this book will absolutely help you ignite that passion. No doubt about it. Because a lot of times what happens, and this is something that I've learned over life, and I don't want to dominate, so I'll turn it back over to you in a minute after I make this one point. But I think a lot of times we may have something that sparks us a little bit. Maybe it's like I was talking about before. Maybe it's just being able to not have to worry about money or wanting to have success, right? But that's just going to kind of get us maybe to do one thing. But what's going to get us to do something over a period of time? Now we need something that's a little bit more of an important goal, right? Some kind of dream or some kind of purpose, right? But when you find that one thing that really is going to drive your soul, that's going to get you to do this, whatever it is, over a long period of time, so that you have that real feeling like you have this reason for being on this planet, this big blue marble on this. We live on the cold earth, right? So anyway, so that's and having those, those, it talks about it. And by the way, the premise of the book, Cameron, is developing a routine in the morning, right? So that you can then accomplish almost anything you want in your life, because you're able to get it done. A lot of the stuff that we tend to put off to later and never gets done, you get it done in the morning. So anyway, I want to turn it back over to you. I don't want to dominate here.
No, I think it's so important. And I was trying to bring up, let me see if I can pull it up onto the screen here, because I think it's so important to what we're talking about. We got a lot of comments, and I'll get to the comments in just a second, but I want to bring in this visual here, because it's really on what we're talking about here, right?
Sure.
So this is Mahatma Gandhi's piece on keep your thoughts positive, because your thoughts become your words.
Yes.
Keep your words positive, because your words become your behavior, because your behavior becomes your habits. Keep your habits positive, because your habits become your values. Keep your values positive, because your values become your destiny. I think it's so true. And often, and we time and time again come back to this in terms of, content on our shows about meditation and exercise. But, whether it's your marriage, and I think, if we would have had, if the internet was working for Ryan and Danielle and Brandy, thank you, wasn't ill today, what we would have probably been talking a lot about was, exercise. And Chris Sutra's asking for the title of the book, The 5 a.m. Club, right, Steve?
5 a.m. Club, yep.
5 a.m. Club, Chris. Just another one of the amazing, fantastic book recommendations from Mr. Steve Spiro, the Master Connector over here. Just really, really important. I was on a walk with my wife this morning. We've both been having knee issues, so we've changed from like the running to the walking. And it's such a big deal for our mental health and for our relationship. It's such a big deal. If you're not doing some sort of physical activity with your loved one and with your loved ones, I get out with the kids. We didn't do it this morning because it was a little wet, but usually me and my wife will go for a walk, and then we'll invite the kids over at a 7 a.m. because we're out a little early at 6, right, to fit it all into the day. But that idea of getting up in the morning, getting things started the right way, making sure that you are getting that really, really good start. Because when we talk about firing up the passion, it's usually because people are burnt out. And how do you get burnt out? you have expanded all the energy in the battery and you have not created any time, room, space for recharging. You got your, now a lot of things are electric. There's less moving parts, a lot easier. I got we were talking about this morning because our mower isn't working. Got to get an electric mower, but I have a blower. And, one of the reasons not to get an electric blower, there's not the same power. Well, that problem's going away. So we got the electric blower. The beautiful thing about an electric blower is when the power runs out, you take it out, you put it into the charger, it charges up, it's completely ready to go again. You are a lot like that. And I think a lot of people forget that you need to recharge. There's got to be ways to recharge. And it's not going to be the same for everybody. It's not going to be the paradise vacation in Cancun that's going to recharge everybody. Maybe it's a different job. Maybe it's yoga, like Mona said here in the comments.
That's right.
Maybe it's community and mentorship and purpose, like Linda Bustamante Perón is saying in the comments. Thanks for being a part of the show. Maybe it's reading. Maybe it's making sure that that's a part of your day. Maybe it's getting that daily exercise, and maybe it's a little bit of all the columns, figuring out what mix is right for you. Such a big deal.
Yeah. And, we don't have kids, but I know you do, Cameron, a bunch of them, but it's, it's so easy, right? When we have a lot of friends that have, kids and so forth. It's so easy to kind of just start your day. You're like, you drop a car and, the wheels are spinning 50 miles an hour on a lift, and you drop the car and it just starts, heading out. That's a lot of times mornings when you have, kids and there's a lot going on. And like Cameron said, you're neglecting the opportunity in the morning, and sometimes you got to get up early. That's why 5 a.m. Now, for us, I don't know if it has to be 5 a.m. I don't think that's the point of the book. I think it just so happens for some people, I think with COVID, because we're not rushing off to commute, a lot of us, maybe I've already, Think and Grow Rich, one of my favorite books, talks about the 6 o'clock club. So I guess they had to go with the, 1 hour earlier for this book. By the way, the subtitle to the book, and Cameron, I think, is going to maybe pull it up, but the image of it is Own Your Morning, Elevate Your Life, right? And it's a great book. And the author is Robin Sharma. And really, really, really good. Again, I'm doing Audible. I love the Audible. You guys know that reading is torturous for me. But this is a really good book. So definitely, if anyone that's watching this or any viewers have actually caught this book, I'm curious what and the part of the book I'm at, not to give it away, is I'm at the part of the book. So don't tell me the end of the story. But there's a part where the homeless person is starting to tell them about this great trip. So, and that they can go on. So I'm going to leave it at that without, giving away too much, but it's really, really interesting book. Really interesting, really cool character development. So, but, yeah. So Cameron, I know one of our questions that we had that we wanted to kind of share and get different perspective on was, we all have had challenges in the last 15 months, obviously due to COVID. And I think the Northeast here has got hit harder than some of the warmer states for sure. But the question is, how have you decided to rise up, right? And curious if you want to cover that first. I know you were like one of the first people that I had known who completely pivoted and decided to make the best out of the situation. So I'm curious to get your perspective, and then after you share, maybe I'll give a little mine. Up, you're muted.
Pushing buttons here. Yeah. I think, I definitely made lemonade out of the lemons that I was given over the past year. And I know so many of the folks in the comments have done the same thing. For some people, it was an opportunity to actually do more business. For other people, it was a chance to rest and take it easy. For other folks, it was just hardship and challenges and figuring out how to deal with those. For my particular industry, for staffing, it was rough, but I had the luxury and the ability, having low overhead with my business, and PPP was fantastic as well in terms of a resource. And the biggest thing that I pivoted to was doing Biz Dev Live, and that was amazing. I think for anybody that is looking to sort of experiment and taste on the outside edges of things, it's the idea that you can really give yourself a schooling and an education on topics and meeting people. It provides an enormous opportunity. If you start up a podcast, that has been the pleasure of doing it. And then that turned into Mr. Steve Spiro giving me a call, saying, hey, I got this LinkedIn Live thing and I'm excited. And that's been a big deal too. I'm taking a break from Biz Dev Live now. I was doing it every day, Monday through Friday. I know we've had that conversation, Steve, like, oh, that's a lot. Do you really need to do that? And for me, especially in the beginning, was all about creating content. And by going daily, I was creating a massive amount of content. And for anybody that wants to see how that worked out, type in Cameron Toth to Google, type in Cameron Toth to YouTube, type in Biz Dev Live to Google, Biz Dev Live to YouTube. You're going to see the results of that. I'm building a brand, right? And so that's been a big deal. And that came out of lessons learned from with Steve and others, that took LinkedIn seriously, that took YouTube seriously, people that have built brands and then been able to capitalize on those brands. So that's been my big pivot, but I'm still going through it. We were talking about passion even before we jumped on today. And so I've been doing a lot of soul searching, and I'm talking about all the time in these intros for the shows. My passion is opportunity and education. So I'm really considering going and being a government employee in the school system, getting into the guidance counselor role to get my hands on that position or role. Because my end all goal is not to be a guidance counselor at one school. I want to have a bigger impact in that. I have no qualms or whatever you want to say, but I know very specifically, laser sharp, I want to have a bigger impact on that. I want to create tools that a lot of people can use over the generations, not just the time in my career, but over the next 1,000 years. I really, when Steve reads the Bible and he's saying passionate about opening up opportunity and education, if I could go and connect with every single man, woman, and child in the world and provide them a little bit more access to equity and education, that's what I'm about. But I think, for folks, that have, kind of paid attention to like who the Secretary of Education is in the United States at any given time, sometimes people end up in those roles and they don't actually have experience. They haven't been a school teacher, but suddenly they're in charge of school teachers and guidance counselors and that sort of thing. And so I'm pushing forward now saying, hey, you know what? That is what I want to do. And so I'm really going towards, even though I can make money doing Biz Dev Live and sponsorship, where do I want to spend time? What am I passionate about? What do I really want to do? Where do I really want to go? And that's where it is.
I think it'd be great. I mean, I would vote for you for Secretary of the Education System.
Not quite yet. Down the road, Steve.
But listen, I knew what I wanted to do early on. I wanted to go into graphic design and advertising. I just happened to know that, but I would have loved to have someone like you as my guidance counselor. I think it's a tall order, right? I mean, think about it, right? When someone is 16 or 16 years old, and they ask them, what they want to do with their life. I mean, that is you talk to a boy that's 16 years old about what he wants to do. He's thinking about girls, cars, probably substances. I mean, he's probably not thinking about, how he's going to spend his life. So, I mean, you talked about the red, the chasing the girl with the red leather pants, right? That's what people, there it is. There's the visual in the book. Yep. Thank you, Cameron. So if anyone who was interested in looking at that, getting that book, that's the screenshot of it. But yeah, I mean, I think it'd be great. And I'm all for that. And the fact that you're an entrepreneur,
I'll just chime in. Just imagine somebody that's, 14 years old getting the kind of understanding that goes into, hey, getting up really early in the morning, making sure you're going into bed on time. And hey, you can start a business at 14. You can start a business at 16. You can do these things.
how does that change somebody's life? Because there's people that are like 30 and they're believing they can't start their own business. If you get over some of those fears early, what does the rest of your life look like? Because we know it's not about the shot that went in, right? It's about how many times, are you attempting that shot? How many times you're practicing percentage, the whole Michael Jordan quote, right? He's missed, this time, lost this many games. You fail when you're trying to succeed. You're not going to succeed if you don't fail, right? It's just the way it is. And so to fail early and often so that you can get to those big successes later on, speak from a place of experience. If you can get a young person to do that, I mean, that changes not only their lives, but it changes our world.
The great one, Wayne Gretzky said, "I missed 100% of the shots I didn't take." Right.
Yeah.
And that phrase has become a cliche, but it's true. Right. And I forget what sport it was. I want to say it's soccer. Right. And I'm sure that's a big sport, for you, Cameron, as far as your kids, I'm guessing. Right. But I think they said, what's the percentage to be a successful pro soccer player? How many successful shots does a soccer player have to take to become pro? And I know in baseball, it's if you're 30%, roughly 28 or 30% of your batting average, you're going to be pro, right? And so Babe Ruth, I think he had more strikeouts than he did home runs, right? I mean, there's all sorts of statistics you hear. The one question, and hopefully if you do take that role on Cameron, I hope that you have some influence in this area, because I think that there's a flaw in our education system, because I think it's too much. You're taught through this testing that you have to be perfect or close to perfect, or it reinforces don't make mistakes, right? And that's contrary to what you're just saying, right? Which is true. Take the shots, right? It's not about, getting at 98 or 100, right? Because another one of my favorite books is Mindset by Zwecki. I forget how you pronounce her last name, but Mindset, in that it's talking as fixed mindset versus growth mindset. Fixed mindset are people that they're very, they don't want to make mistakes. They're programmed to not make mistakes. Growth mindset are those who are excited, and if they make mistakes, no worries, no big deal, it's okay. So if we can reinforce that in the education system, there it is. Carol Dweck, that's the word, Dweck. I knew it was something unusual, but great book. Yeah, phenomenal. Thank you, Cameron, for pulling that out. But yeah, so if someone like you being a guidance counselor, and that could have some influence in steering the education system, so you're not so, okay, my mom is saying charter schools. Yep, charter schools are trying to attempt to go that direction, which is great, But again, we're so programmed to not fail that it becomes, and I think that's the other problem is, right? I think you come out of college, or you're looking to get out of college, and you're like, okay, what career? Because if I pick this career, it's going to be the direction I'm going for the rest of my life, right? Okay, well, you try something, and if it doesn't work, you pivot and go again. That's what we've learned. To give my answer on, this last 15 months and what COVID has taught is you gotta be light on your feet. You gotta be ready to move and shake, and you gotta move a little bit, and you can't just stay in one spot, and you gotta be flexible, and you gotta say, okay, all right, we got this thrown at us. What can we do to not capitalize on it, if you will, but to maybe work with, and like what you did with Biz Dev Live is tremendous. What I did is I just continued to do more of some of the things I was doing, right? I was already doing a lot of networking. I was actually doing a lot of remote meetings through LinkedIn and so forth, through Zoom in some cases, phone calls. I just did more of that, right? In some of the stuff I do with Quaddy and the consulting work I do, a lot of that stuff was remote and automation based, which made so much sense. And we were doing it prior to COVID. I was just like, hey, these areas make tons of sense for the world we're in right now, as people are starting to do a lot more remote working. So you got to look, you got to be able to be ready to shift and to move and to shake, right? And not be so locked in and focused on what you're doing and trying to force that to work, but be ready to change and evolve with the times, and don't, again, I think, and I admire people that could be focused on one career, one business, I think it's great. But I think one thing we've learned in COVID, I heard a good analogy, and that is, if you have a table and it's got one leg, we've seen them at bars, right? You got the table with the one leg, and then there's the little feet at the bottom. But if you take that one leg away, that's no longer a table. But if you have a table that has 4 or 5 legs, and yet one gets taken away, you've still got a table, right? And a lot of times, I think we're looking at things that we're doing as this one thing, and right in your industry, in the event industry, I mean that got hurt pretty bad, right? So thank God you were able to pivot. And I think what a lot of the lessons we're learning is it probably makes sense to kind of have a couple of things going on at one time. Again, you got to be careful, right? I mean, I know there's the feedback of, well, if I'm so focused on so many things, I'm not going to be effective in one thing, right? If you're chasing 3 rabbits, you don't catch any, right? But if you could know how to time manage and be good with your time, and be able to, I love when people tell me I only can do one thing at a time. Okay, that's great. So when you have your job or business, I'm guessing you never go to the gym, and you can't stay in shape, and you probably don't have any relationships, and you don't have a good relationship with your kids. You don't have a good marriage because you can only do one thing at a time. No. That you're missing it. You're able to compartmentalize when you get home from work. Now it's time for the family, right? And when you want, maybe you go to the gym at 6 a.m. So from 6 to 7 or 7:30, whatever, you're in the gym. That's you're compartmentalizing your life so you can do many things. Anyway, so I could get on a rant on that one.
No, I think you're absolutely right, and I think that exercise isn't necessarily like I said, I went for a walk. Now, I don't always go and exercise. My wife, she doesn't always go and exercise, but you can combine some of these activities, and we get the kids out, and that's a big deal because if you're a parent and it's summertime and you don't have the kids in camp, they're not getting them out in the morning. Getting to change them out of the pajamas, right? You change the men's mindset. They go out, they get a little hungry, they eat a good breakfast. It starts the day going back to the 5 a.m. kind of club, that routine in the morning, whatever time you're starting in the morning. If you're feeding yourself junk food and junk information and junk routine, you're going to get junk out, right? And going to the education thing that you were talking about, this is where education gets so challenging because everybody wants a simple solution with education. What's our focus? What's our big thing? And Demi, I just want to highlight her comments because she had a great comment here. Toth, we share a similar passion regarding education, especially about equity, and children don't experience I have something to lose or feeling prematurely defeated. They are so resilient. That mindset is persevering, especially if we nourish it, right? The idea, I push my daughter, doing amazing. She's on high honor roll. This last end of term for Leo, my 13-year-old, he's on the high honor roll. The other two are too small yet. They're not doing those kind of grades. But my two older ones, 13 and 15, they're both on the high honor roll. And Leo has struggled. Like at the beginning of the year, we were dealing with stuff. The big thing for me, and I think the sports piece is a nice sort of fit into this because we don't expect somebody to go out onto the field and score 100% of the goals. We would call that person selfish. We would call that person a ball hog. It's a team sport. We're a team. This is how we win, right? Although there are people that push for that, right? Especially like that parent that is like, oh, my son has to be the star. And we know that's not the right way. Similarly, in school, my push isn't that my children have to get 100 and everything. What I want them to do is push for 100 and everything. And so what I think a lot of people do in terms of this whole passion thing, right, is instead of feeling like it's okay to fail, it's okay to try and fail, they're trying to push forward on something, but they're not putting the whole heart into it. And so when it fails, they say, oh, this must not been for me, because they're not pushing and giving their all. My child goes into a class. We're talking about all of the different things that go into it. The relationship with the teacher, right? You're in the workplace. What's the relationship with the boss? And I'm talking about, these are all things, life skills that you need, because these are all relevant to everything that's going to happen later, right? What's your relationship with these people? Are they ready to give you the benefit of the doubt when the challenge inevitably comes up? These are the things that I'm building with them, because education, it's not just the test, and it shouldn't be the test. Some people are bad at taking tests. It's right.
That's me.
Right.
That's me.
It's about every little piece of it. And that's what I'm pushing forward. It's, I'm in a good school system, in the Valhalla school system. I grew up in New York City. That, there's some other challenges down there. But if we're doing things on education where we're encouraging the whole student to open up, on the negative end, my daughter is a little hesitant to push into some of those extracurriculars, because maybe I've said, well, you got to do excellent and all this other stuff. And so maybe that pressure is like, well, I'm not going to do it unless I can do 100%. So you're always sitting there shifting and adjusting there. There is no silver bullet to this education thing. There's no silver bullet to this passion thing. It's a lot of experiment and failure, and everybody is like a fingerprint, very completely different when it comes to this. We can find some similarities. The finger is the finger, but life is a little different for everybody. I'll say this from Debbie, and I'll be quiet and let you finish this up here, because we're at the top of the hour, Steve. Debbie says, what I've learned is that it's never too late to follow other passions that can grow into another career later in life. Never set limitations on ourselves. That is a great way to sum up our show here, Debbie. I love that. Steve, to wrap this thing up, put a nice little bow on this. What can you tell our viewers to help them ignite their passion and rise up? Do you have any action steps?
Yeah, I mean, number one, since we talked about it, I would recommend get that book. That book will really, I believe, will help you. Even though I haven't finished it, I'm pretty confident that it's going to really help you. That the 5 a.m. Club, which by Sharma, in case you're tuning in later. By the way, if you're watching this on the replay, make sure you hit hashtag replay if you're going to make a comment. We appreciate that, because this show is actually viewable on the replay for quite a while. I don't know if they ever take it down. So, and make sure you're sharing this out to your network if you want, if you think it'd be valuable for them. But yeah, action points. Yeah, and comment to piggyback off what you said, Cameron. It's never been about perfection. It's about excellence, right? Always striving for excellence, right? Perfection is unachievable, but excellence is always something you want to strive for, right? And so I would say, yeah, like we talked about earlier, I would read that book. I would definitely find yourself if you could come up with a life's mission statement or what really, really drives you. And again, if you need an idea what that looks like, DM me. I'll share it with you. Direct message me, and I'll share what my mission statement is. It's a little personal, but I'm happy to do it. And just go for it. Don't be ashamed, afraid. Like Cameron said, right? It's listen. If it's not something you find that you're really passionate about, it's great. Try something else. It doesn't matter, right? Just give yourself enough time, because sometimes our passions get tarnished by lack of results early on. And that is a big one. A lot of times we want to do something that we're going to be passionate about, and we're looking for results. And if we don't get them right away, it tarnishes it. And don't let that happen. Keep that vision clear. Write it out. Read it. Look at it. Make sure you're viewing it on a regular basis so that it stays fresh for you. And speak about it a lot, right? Everywhere I go, I'm telling people I want to be the light. I want to inspire people. I want to really help people, right? And the more you speak it, number one, you're telling the universe, you're telling people you're coming, but who you're really convincing is you. You're programming you. And that would be my biggest thing, is find your passion, put a mission statement together, work on daily activities to accomplish it, and speak it regularly and go for it. How about you, Cameron?
Yeah, I showed that Mahatma Gandhi quote, right? Positive thoughts leads to positive actions leads to positive habits. Such a big deal. Demi says, that's great, Cameron. Love that about your children. Thanks, Steve Spiro and Cameron Toth, for a great show. Passion, purpose, principle, and perseverance. Thanks, Demi. Listen, next week, Monday, July 26th,
how to move forward in this new normal. Going to be a great topic. We had Jan Mercer-Doms, Dylan Della Rosso, and Teresa Rume. I hope I'm saying that name right. We'll be back live Monday, July 26th for episode 33. Can you believe it, Steve? 33 episodes. I just want to leave people this action steps for igniting the passion. You are not going to find the passion, if you don't already have it, by tiring yourself out. Journaling, how do you journal write? Get that rest. Come to it rested, build some time, get the herbal tea, light the candles, do what you need to do. It might be in the middle of the noise. You need to go out into the streets of NYC while they're jackhammering, because that's when you can think. Whatever it is that gets you to your place of Zen, so you can do that introspective stuff to figure out what you're truly passionate about, what you truly enjoy. Look at your life experience. And if you don't feel like you have enough life experience, you haven't found that thing, try, experiment, taste, go out and do it. We'll support you. You got our information here on LinkedIn. Connect with us, talk to us. We're here for you. The community is here for you. As always, thank you, everybody in the chat. We got Demi Gray, who's so all over the comments. Thank you so much for that. Debbie, Audrey, Mona, Mama Spiro in the house, Chris Dutra, who else? Linda, who's checking in with us. Linda Padron, Corey Foster. Thank you guys. Chris Dutra again. All these folks in the comments. Kevin Hall. Thank you so much for tuning in. Gregory Austin. Everybody, thank you so much. We had Sri Parma. So many folks checking in the comments today. Thank you so much for making this show what it is. We appreciate you. I'm going to throw up the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 crush it symbol. We'll send you out. Steve, lead us out. Oh, I got you on mute. We got the 2020 theme song going in. There we go. Yeah.
There we go. Right. But let's go out and let's be the light, and let's make sure we're crushing it every day. So here we are. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Crush it!
All right. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next week. Here we go. If I can push these buttons right. There we go. Take care, everybody.